I've been going back through some of my archives, some of my videos that I made way back, and just put them in archive. Plan to go back to them and touch them up and edit and put them on here. And I've just been really slow about it. But I've been going back through them, and I've been researching some of the cases that I had saved, and I'm hoping to get some of these videos up soon. Some of these are older stories. Some of you may have heard of them, and some maybe you haven't. But today, the story that I wanted to talk about, the first story in this video that I want to talk about, is that of Ricky Melton, who went missing in Corbin, Kentucky, and this is his story. Ricky Douglas Melton, who went by the nickname Dougie, was last seen July the 26th, 2013 in Corbin, Kentucky. He was 27 years old when he was last seen. He is a white male who was described as being about 5 foot 10 inches tall, around 200 pounds. His last date of contact was July the 26th, 2013. He was reportedly last seen leaving an apartment and got into a black Chevy S10 with a UK sticker in the back window. Now, for those of you who don't know, UK is the University of Kentucky. I'm sure most of my listeners are aware of that, but there are some who maybe don't live in this area. So UK stands for University of Kentucky. And if you know the logo, you know what it looks like. So, but he left behind his wallet, his cell phone, and his keys. This included his car key and his apartment key. Nothing from his vehicle was bothered, and nothing from his apartment had been bothered or removed. Now, he is described as having a full head of very thick hair, and his hair was slightly curly. He had very hairy arms, and they had described him as having dark black hair on his arms. He had a goatee and mustache, and he had green eyes. He had scarring on his left hand and index finger, and it's from a surgery. Now, it says here that it was from a graft that he had had surgery when he was a baby on his left hand, and so he had scarring on that hand. The only thing that the family could say about his clothing, because they didn't see him when he disappeared, but they said that he almost always wore a baseball cap. And he almost always wore black leather tennis shoes or black leather shoes that he wore at his last job. His father says that he had spoken to him earlier that day, and his sister-in-law said that she had also spoken to him, and that neither of them suspected that anything was wrong. He didn't speak about anything going on that led them to have any kind of, thoughts that something was up with him. It just seemed like any other day, any other conversation. However, after a few days when no one had heard from him, his family became concerned, and his younger brother went over to his apartment to check on him. His vehicle was still in the parking lot, and he went into his apartment and discovered that his keys, wallet, cell phone, and all of his personal items were still there. Now, he leaves all of his keys and everything in his apartment, and I don't know if the brother had a key or if the door was not locked. But it's almost like his brother had just walked out to speak to somebody, maybe. Didn't lock his door because he was planning on going right back inside. And maybe once he got out to this truck, they said, come ride with me someplace, or maybe they grabbed him and pulled him into the truck. I don't know, but it just says that it was almost like he just walked out of his apartment, left everything as it was with plans to come right back. Now, Dougie does have a twin brother, it says. There have been a couple of articles written since his initial disappearance, but no real developments. His family is still wanting answers. There weren't a whole lot more details about it. It was just as though everything in his life seemed to be just fine. He spoke to his dad. He spoke to another family member that day. Well, the last day that anyone spoke to him, they don't know if he disappeared that same day or if it was several days. And I don't know if they spoke to people in the apartment building where he lived, neighbors, or if anyone, was spoken to ask, did you see anyone coming around his apartment? Did you see him talking to anybody? So there weren't very many more details about this case, but if you have any information, you can contact the London Post of the Kentucky State Police at 606-878-6622. This is the story of the missing person, Marcus Rutledge. He's been missing from Nashville, Tennessee since June 8, 1998. 23 years old, he was 6 foot tall and 190 pounds. Marcus was last seen on June 8, 1998 at his apartment in Nashville, Tennessee. He spoke with his girlfriend at around, or it says here his ex-girlfriend, at around 1:30 p.m., but no one could reach him later that day. His family went to his apartment to check on him, and they found his dog locked in the bathroom without any food. This was very unusual, as they knew he wasn't known to do that. On July the 1st, Marcus's car was discovered abandoned at the Riverwood Apartments, 21 miles from his home. Inside the car, authorities found a handgun, possibly belonging to Marcus. His ex-girlfriend said Marcus had been involved in altercations and might have carried the gun for protection. Marcus was enrolled at the Tennessee State University, but his family later discovered he was no longer attending classes. They also discovered that he had been selling pot to college students and that he had a 2-year-old daughter that they were not aware of. He had not made them aware that he had this 2-year-old daughter. Before his disappearance, Marcus had been living with his friend Ethan Gibbs, but he had recently moved out. In February 1999, Ethan was murdered, but the case remains unsolved after charges against a suspect were dismissed. He was a black male and he had brown eyes and black hair. He was 6 foot tall and about 190 pounds. Memorial Day weekend, it was a fun time in 1998. The Rutledge family had a great time that weekend, full of laughter and memories. David Rutledge remembers very well. We had a great time, good fellowship. Everyone was enjoying the family gathering. David's son, 23-year-old Tennessee State University student Marcus Rutledge, had flown to his home in Ypsilanti, Michigan for the holiday weekend. He had a break for the holiday, and that was a great time. It was great to see him and to be with the family. Classes were to start back up that Tuesday, and Marcus hopped on a flight back to Nashville. It was the last time that he would ever see his son again. A few weeks later, it was discovered that Marcus was missing. Now, it says here that his family discovered he wasn't attending classes. Did they mean in the week or so since they last saw him that he hadn't attended any classes, or had he completely just dropped out of school and just had not told them that? Growing up, Marcus took part in his share of activities. He was in the band, he loved playing instruments, and he also played football and soccer. He had a lot of friends, and he was known in the neighborhood. People knew each other, and they would just all hang out together. One of the kids was named Eddie Beach. Eddie told Dateline that he went to middle school and high school with Marcus. and the two of them played football together. He was a very funny person, he said, but he could get serious about stuff, and school was one of those things. So they're saying that he took his education very seriously, but for some reason he had stopped attending classes at college. Marcus' father remembers his son as having a loving personality. He was a good kid, and he always had a smile on his face. By 1998, Marcus was a senior at Tennessee State. He had a 4-year-old son named Darius, and Darius' mother was a student at Tennessee State as well. Marcus lived in Nashville, and Darius lived in Knoxville with his mother. Marcus used to travel from Nashville to Knoxville every chance he would get to see his son. At the time of his disappearance, Marcus was no longer in a relationship with Darius' mother. His father told Dateline that Marcus had a girlfriend in Nashville. On the morning of June 8, 1998, Marcus was with his girlfriend. Metro Nashville Police Department Detective Matthew Filter told Dateline he spent the night of June the 7th with her, and then he left in the morning of June the 8th. He took his daughter to daycare. The girlfriend last spoke to him at around 1:30 p.m., but she didn't know exactly where he was at the time. David Rutledge told Dateline that on the evening of June the 8th, he and his wife got a concerning phone call from Marcus's girlfriend, who told them that she couldn't get in touch with him. We told her that we had not heard from him. He said he then tried calling Marcus and got no response. They called each other back and forth throughout the evening, and no one had heard from him, and they began to get worried. His girlfriend told the father that she was going to go over to his apartment and check on him. Marcus lived alone in a duplex in Nashville. According to David, Marcus's girlfriend called his former roommate and friend, Ethan Gibbs, to help her get into the apartment. So essentially they just went into a window. They just basically broke into the apartment because they had no key. So they went in through a window, and once they got inside, they just found the dog locked up in the bathroom with the door closed. David's heart dropped when he heard this because he said, "Call the police right away." There's no way that he would have locked his dog in the bathroom and just left him there like that. It wasn't known to do that. So they called the police. The Metro Nashville Police Department started the search for Marcus. They put a lot of emphasis on searching around the house since this was the last place he was believed to be. But no, they don't know that because they said that he dropped his daughter off at daycare. Did he return back to his apartment after that? Or did he go someplace else after that? They acquired his phone record to see who he was last in contact with. Marcus's car was found. Let's see if it says. David Rutledge recalls the community support to find his son and the car. The police got the media involved in TV networks, and they were constantly broadcasting the type of car and license plate to the public. The press and the media did a good job. They kept this incident in the front of the community for a very long time. Their efforts paid off on July the 1st, 1998, so it was close to a month after he'd gone missing when his car turned up in these apartments in Nashville. Now, this was on the opposite side of town from where Marcus lived. There was nothing found inside the car that helped investigators get any closer to what happened to Marcus. They did take fingerprints, and there have been no matches to those prints. Detectives told Dateline that they believe foul play was involved. Based on the character portrayed by the family and friends, he would not have just abruptly broken off contact with everyone. He would not have just abandoned his dog and his property behind, not telling his girlfriend or his family where he was going. Marcus's family doesn't believe he would just up and disappear on purpose. They believe that Marcus got mixed up in something and he didn't know how to get out of it, and maybe he got mixed up with the wrong people. It haunts us because we just don't understand how a person could just disappear. It's like the earth just swallowed him. Less than a year after Marcus's disappearance, his friend and former roommate Ethan Gibbs was murdered on February the 23rd, 1999 at his duplex in Nashville. At the time, a man who was described as Ethan's friend was charged with the murder. They made an arrest, but the charges were later dropped for some reason. I don't know if the case was reopened later, and I don't know what the deal was with that. For Marcus's family, Ethan's murder raised even more questions. I think there has to be some connection, they say, but the police don't think so. Detective Filter told Dateline that a connection between the cases was investigated, and earlier investigators did not look for a connection, but they did not find one when they did, and they don't believe that the two cases were related. But that doesn't mean the detective was giving up looking for answers. According to the father, the reason that his son moved out of the apartment that he shared with this Gibbs was because he said that his roommate, Ethan Gibbs, was not paying his share of the rent, and that they would often come up short on the rent, or the rent would get behind, and that he also would not agree to keep the apartment clean. And he just decided it was time to move out and get his own place. As far as his dad knew, they didn't really have any problems with each other. As far as that went, they were still friends. He just decided it was time to get his own place. Now, according to the family also, they began to receive phone calls, hang up, or just phone calls where no one would speak, about a month after their son went missing. And this continued about once a month until his mother died in 2015. And after that, the phone calls stopped. So I don't know if they believe that this was their son calling, maybe just to hear their voices. Maybe it was his attempt to let them know that he was still out there. I don't know if they reported this to the police and asked the police to trace these calls, or if they were afraid that maybe he was in some kind of trouble, and so they just continued to allow the calls to come. And if it wasn't him, then who was it? But as far as Ethan Gibbs' story, what I was able to find about him was that he was considered to be, both of these men were considered by the Nashville police to be low-scale pot dealers. They were not big-time drug dealers. Mostly they dealt to kids on the college campus, students on the college campuses. And I don't know if they'd gotten mixed up in some kind of really bad transaction with, maybe they were targeted by other drug dealers in the area who thought that they were taking their business away. Marcus's family is still holding on to hope. In 2015, Geraldine Rutledge, this is Marcus's mother, died before she could see a resolution to her son's case. She said to me, "The only thing I want you to do is take care of our kids," David recalled. And Marcus is included in that, and they continue to look for him because they say that he is their child, and they will never give up trying to find out what happened to him. Marcus would be 49 years old today. Anyone with any information is asked to call the Metro Nashville Police Department Cold Case Unit at 615-682-7329. This next story is the story of the missing man named Jimmy C. Bingham. He's missing from Dyersburg, Tennessee. Dyersburg police say they are searching for a man who has been missing since June. Now, this was posted in 2018. Investigators say Bingham would regularly contact his mother and his family, but no one has heard from him. He was reported missing June the 24th. I'm assuming this was 2018 because this is when this article was published. No one has heard from him, so on July the 15th, Dyersburg police joined Shelby County Sheriff's Office and Mid-South Search and Rescue, and they searched for him in several areas, but they were unable to find him. I searched his name on several different websites to see if he had ever been found or there was any updated information. This was all I was able to find. Jimmy C. Bingham was described as being a white male, 5 foot 8 inches tall. He was 45 and 5 foot 8 inches tall, 160 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. His last known location was Dyersburg, Tennessee. Jimmy has a tattoo of a skull on his right forearm, a tattoo of a ring on his finger with the letter T, and a Guns N' Roses tattoo. Now, I've included a couple of photos of him. I couldn't find but 2 photos of him, but in one photo he is not wearing a ball cap, and you can see that he is somewhat balding. He's described as having brown hair, and he appears to have a light mustache and goatee. Dyer County Crime Stoppers was offering a $1,000 reward for information in connection to his disappearance. There's a phone number here for Dyersburg Police Department, 731-285-1212. I found a couple of articles, but most of them have pretty much the same information. Jimmy C. Bingham, age 45, was last heard from by his family on Father's Day weekend 2018. It goes on to describe his appearance, and it says that he was last known to be wearing a t-shirt, blue jeans, black and white Nike tennis shoes, and black and white ball cap. The Facebook page, like I said, pretty much gives the same description, the clothing description. It does say Jimmy has not had contact with anyone, and it is very unlike him to go for more than a couple of days without contact with his family. He is disabled due to a back injury, but he did not cash his check at the first of the month. So whatever happened to him from Father's Day weekend, June 2018, until the 1st of July, when he would have gotten his disability check, he was not able to cash his disability check for some reason, probably because he very well may be deceased. His loved ones are very concerned for him, and there was a $1,000 reward for his information. And if you would like to talk to anyone about this, you can email them at TennesseeMissingAndUnsolved@gmail.com. You can stay anonymous. And I'll move on to the next story now. Recently, I shared a little bit of information about a body that was discovered in Jessamine County, and someone asked if it was possible that it could be this man, Joey Miller. He is still missing as of January the 15th, 2025. The main search area was focused on the Greenfish Hill area, and this was in Rockcastle County, Kentucky. Now, I'm not sure how long it will take before the medical examiner's office will be able to determine who this man was, whose remains were found. And like I said, I don't know when the medical examiner will be able to determine who this man was or how long his body had been out there. He was last seen June the 21st, 2024. He was a resident of Rockcastle County, 36 years old, white, male, 6 foot tall, 150 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. If anyone has any information on Joey Miller's disappearance or his whereabouts, you can contact the Rockcastle County Sheriff's Office, or you can contact Trooper Scotty Pennington at the London State Police Post 11. I don't know if this will turn out to be the man whose remains were found, but if that information is ever posted, I will come back and do a follow-up, and if Joey Miller is found, I will come back and do a follow-up on that as well. Another case that has very little information is the case of the missing man Charles Boyd Stickland. The Walker County Sheriff's Office is asking for the public's help in finding a missing man, Charles Boyd Stickland. He was thought to be in a white 2024 Kia Sorento with Florida tag RHBP03. This was rented in Charles's name from a rental company in Chattanooga, Tennessee. The car was seen on traffic cameras in Marietta, Georgia, and Cobb County, Georgia. Charles is disabled, and police say he may be with a woman and 2 other men. I don't know who rented the car. I don't know if they went to this car rental place and asked. The car was rented in his name. And so that's really all the information I have. I will share the 2 photos of the car and of the man. And anyone with any information on his whereabouts is asked to contact the Walker County Sheriff's Office or Detective Brandon Barkley at 706-670-1953. Thanks for watching.